One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to nurture leads.
Okay, that's a huge topic.
I know.
Let's let's break it down, because there's so many different ways that you can nurture leads. And let's just imagine that we're talking just about B2B sales. Okay, so we're talking high ticket B2B, maybe high ticket B2C. Biggest mistake is not nurturing them. so in the sense that you're going directly and you're trying to sell to them, you're forcing the person who's being sold to into like a binary yes or no, and then you never follow up with them, and then you never try and nurture them, and you don't have a nurturing strategy built into your sales process. So that's like the biggest one, is not having any kind of nurture strategy. The second one is not having kind of like it be multi-channel, in the sense that you should have email going out, nurturing them, kind of like educating them.
Mm-hmm.
You should have LinkedIn and social media posts doing the same, so that they're kind of seeing content around that. And then you should have as well what we talk about, which is you should have kind of online interactive events that are also doing the same thing. So it's multi-channel, it's multi-format, it's video, it's text, it might be audio if you're just doing an audio-only podcast. So that's what I would say, is it has to be all of these different things together. And sometimes the person is just ready to buy now, and great. We all love it when that happens. But most of the time, when you first create a lead, you're going to have to nurture them. And the best thing to do is to do it intentionally.
So how has AI changed the buyer's journey? Because now it's so easy to create these drip campaigns and these fake videos and these almost anything you want. How do you develop leads when you don't know who you're talking to all the time?
Yeah, so this is just happening now. So this is kind of, I'll just give you my perspective of where I think things will go. And this is not just my idea as well. I'm influenced by other kind of influencers, commentators in the space. So where I think this is going is short form content that was traditionally used to nurture leads, I think is going to slowly die away as AI begins to dominate that space.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that, these short form clips, you can't tell anymore if it's AI or not. And so I think people are going to start to move towards long form streaming, because that is something that AI can't do quite yet. And then they're going to record that and use those kind of more long form video formats from direct streaming to prove that they're real.
So saying that, how long before AI can do what you just said can't be done now? And so I know that AI is developing every day. What are people doing? How do people keep up with it? You're the marketing expert.
So what I would say is it's difficult for everyone to keep up with it. Even if you work in it all the time, it's difficult to keep up with it. And so, I don't have a question to that. The only thing I can say is just to keep on experimenting and put maybe 20% of your time during the day to always be trying to implement new things in the AI space. Your other question, which was about when will AI get to that point with the streaming? I don't know. Some people say that the AI will get there. Other people say that live AI video streaming, like we're doing now, is actually requires a lot of compute, and it's actually they can't see it happening anytime soon. So I don't know. I've heard this from some experts in the space that's the absolute last frontier of like kind of online content is live streaming.
So you've made an interesting decision on helping people and corporations with their production and to show up live, which is something that I think is going to be so critically important in the age of AI. So tell me a little bit about how you're planning on helping people with their production of their events.
Yeah, so because as we move into this kind of AI dominated content world where You can't tell if a text has been written by AI or not. You can't tell if, like I said, a short video clip is AI generated or not. You can't tell if you're interacting on the phone with an AI audio agent.
Almost. You're right about that.
Yeah, and this is already happening. As this happens, I believe that people are going to really desire more live human-to-human connections. So that could be through virtual interactive events like we do, or that could be through in-person events as well. I think both are going to explode in popularity, but at the same time, it requires strategy, it requires setup. It's not the easiest lift necessarily. It's very scalable when done well, especially the online digital events that we do. But we're here to help because the production side of it isn't that simple. Hosting a well-run webinar that is smooth and provides value and wants people to come back isn't actually as easy as people think. And a lot of organizations, sorry?
I know that you've made ours run incredibly smooth from a jumpy start. So, it's very important to have it run right.
I appreciate that, Jan. Yeah. And the reason why I'm able to run them is because I've done so many events over the years. I mean, so I've run in-person and physical events for the last 10 years. And everyone knows who does events productions. There's always things that go wrong, but it's all about knowing how to mitigate them and kind of knowing how to adapt on the fly. And that just comes with experience. And also knowing where to focus your attention and where not to. A lot of times people worry about the wrong things when they're starting an event, and they should be focused. It's kind of the 80-20 of what they should be focusing on. So we help with that.
I'm sorry. What is the biggest problem you encounter when doing one of these events?
So I mean, there's just with online, the biggest problem that you could possibly encounter is like lack of internet. Yeah. So you can never 100% guarantee that for that, hour that you've programmed that event, that your internet is going to be working, because everyone has experienced, I don't care if you live in the most developed country in the world, everyone has experienced internet outages. At one point, probably, if you're doing a lot of events, it's going to happen. So that's the biggest problem with online digital events, and that's why you need a team, and that's why you need a contingency, so that if that does happen, whether to the speaker, to the host, whether to the person who's presenting, you have a plan and a backup and someone else who can take over. So that is absolutely the most important thing, and that's what we actually provide. That. So we always make sure that if internet goes down, we have a plan and we're able to, someone on the team is able to take over. For you, Jan, perfect example, we have Christine. So right. We have me and we have Christine. And you are the presenter. And that means that you're kind of able to talk, and you know that if my internet goes out, I'm able to take over. Christine knows that if her internet goes out, I can take over, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's a perfect situation. So you and I have spent some time talking over the years about AR and VR, because I wrote an article a couple of years ago about coaching in the metaverse and about reading and book publishing in the metaverse. What's your feeling about changing from a flat 2-dimensional to a 3-dimensional situation when you have these events?
So I think it's incredibly interesting. VR and AR. I've experimented with a lot of these platforms, like conferences done in VR environments, just using like your computer screen. You don't even have to have a headset. You can kind of like navigate it.
It's a big difference using your computer and having to do keyboards than having a headset and using your hands.
For sure. So like some of them would be that I've been involved in a kind of like a computer game, in the sense that you're navigating through the environment as if you were like a first-person character in a computer game. Yeah. There's others where you actually put on a headset and you kind of interact with like avatars. Others where you interact with like a video. and you're kind of like seeing everyone's video inside a virtual environment. There's so many different examples. The only thing I would say is I still haven't been involved in one which made me think, okay, now everyone's ready to jump in. Every single one of them, there was a lot of technical issues. People who are not very tech savvy are not able to navigate. I mean, even with, like, let's just dial it back. I always tell everyone to use Zoom because everyone knows how to use Zoom. So even on like basic web conferencing platforms, competitors to Zoom, I don't recommend, just because that creates a whole bunch of issues with participants who are not familiar with it. So, and then, you know, with the VR and the AR, I mean, you're just 10xing that issue.
But it will happen at some point.
It will definitely happen. And when there is the Zoom of VR and when there is the Zoom of these AR experiences for online, which is coming, it could be Zoom itself or could be a competitor. When that happens, I will be the first one jumping on. But it's just not there yet.
And the equipment has to be readily available, the hardware, and it has to be affordable. It's not there yet, right?
Exactly. It has to be ubiquitous. So why does Zoom work? Zoom works because there isn't a person on Earth who isn't working who doesn't have a laptop and an internet connection. So they already have the hardware necessary to participate. And then that's what, actually, just to go back to your previous point, that's why I think it's interesting that when I said a VR environment where I can just use my laptop is, of course, preferable at the moment to a VR environment where I need a headset, because not everyone has a headset.
Right.
So that's why that's going to be the first step into these VR web conferencing and VR events is going to be just through people using their normal computer screens, because we can't expect everyone to have a headset at this moment in time.
So that's interesting, and that's the first time I've heard of that. So it would be through the camera? Is that how it would be? You would work it. It would work through your hand motions, or the same, and your eyes and your head motions.
Exactly. So it could create an avatar based on, like I'm doing now, or it could just, you know, take my cam, which I've seen. They literally just take a camera. It's almost like a floating Zoom screen.
Got it.
So you can do it like that. There's all these different options. And that until they get that to the point where everyone feels very comfortable, it's very intuitive, it's very natural. It might just be a generational thing. Maybe when enough Gen Z and Gen Alphas are in their like 30s or 40s and they're so native to the technology, it could be that's when we get the widespread adoption and it becomes like something very normal. I don't know.
So let's go back and talk about what kind of clients are you looking for, and how do you get them?
Okay, so we're looking for clients that already have a successful service that they're selling. They have a pipeline, their CRM has contacts, they have a sales team, they have sales development reps that are able to book meetings, but they're just looking for better performance. So they're looking for better performance from top, mid, and bottom of funnel, because that's where online interactive events are perfect. We're not here to build someone's sales strategy from zero, because that's there are other places to start first. Like, do you have product market fit? Do you have like just basic lead gen systems? Are you able to build good customer contact lists? That's something that I have done and I do with my other product, Lead Linker, and I have business partners that can provide those services. But this particular service, which is online recurring digital events, it's an add-on to your sales process. It's supposed to make your customer acquisition go down in terms of price, and you're supposed to sell more, and it makes your sales team much more effective as they can do one-to-many calls and one-to-many sales. If you're not even able to book one-on-one meetings, probably not the right service for your particular business at this stage.
How do you turn the content that you're creating into long-term assets?
Okay, so I like to hit what I say, not just two birds with one stone, but three or four. Yeah. So content is one of those stones. And there's also lead gen, there's also lead nurturing, there's also thought leadership. So you've got all of these kind of things that we're trying to achieve with one specific strategy and tactic which we're implementing, which is roundtables. The content side is massive because the content side means that anytime I get on this recurring event, I have it recorded. I can then, in the post-production, I can take the transcript, repurpose that into social posts. I can clip it for short form, even though I said short form was going away. At least for now, we can take advantage of it. And then I can also take the long form and put it on YouTube, and it becomes kind of like thought leadership pieces and like webinars that we can use to promote our business. So it's so good that just by marking in our calendar, just by scheduling a recurring event, we're able to then have this content machine that kind of gets. And what's cool is like then I'm not worried about what content is gonna I'm gonna be able to produce, because the recurring events are providing us with new topics, with new content that we can then push out for that next month, that next week.
Exactly.
That's huge.
Exactly what we do with the content that you provide for us.
Yeah. And so it's great. It's nice to know that you've just got this thing which you're doing live, which is also on the back end with post-production, you're able to leverage and yeah, it's kind of like I'm saying you're getting multiple benefits from just this one action.
It's a great piece of marketing. It really is. And it helps people, and people get interaction, and there's a lot of collaboration that goes involved, and that expands everybody's horizons.
You've built multiple successful companies. What mindset or principle has been most critical in navigating reinvention after your losses?
Wow. Where do I start on that one? So my management style is what I call management by walking around. So I like to be hands-on when I walk around. What makes me successful? That's a hard thing to answer. There's been ups and downs. I try to stay open, and I try to listen. And communication is a real important part of my way of doing business, whether it's to employees, to clients, to vendors. Communications is a key in building relationships.
Absolutely. And can you share how digital content creators is helping redefine what publishing and e-learning look like today?
So when we started back in the olden days, 2010 and 11, we were helping people by doing typesetting and creating ebooks at that time. As things developed and that technology moved on, we moved into e-learning. And over the last couple of years, we've adopted artificial intelligence to create a system where we can help an author who wants to share a story from their heart, or a coach who has an interesting way of bringing his subject to life and doesn't have time to get the content. And we can use AI to help him make that content available to everybody. So we're in this field now where we can use our technology and our expertise to help any author or coach create content.
Okay. And what's your philosophy behind your approach to helping others build influence through books, courses, and content in general?
My way of reasoning is AI is a great tool, but it's only noise if you don't add your soul to it. So there is what I call a Goldilocks zone, where you use AI to a point, but it's always about you and your story and your voice. So without you being there, anybody could do what you do, but you make it special. So we take your brand and your personality and we infuse it into all your content.
Okay, and how do you do this exactly?
we've created something called the 3 Pillars of Influence, where we create a book, an e-learning course, and a social media campaign based on the book and the e-learning course, all directed by humans, but the heavy lifting done with AI. So for the book, you'll need a book coach. For the e-learning course, you'll probably need an instructional designer and a graphic designer. For the social media campaign, we will take your content, repurpose it into video, into audio, into print, and send it out to all platforms.
Okay. And how do you balance strategy and execution when guiding authors, coaches, or influencers from idea to the impact that they want to make?
That's probably the hardest part of my job, is to take very smart people who really sometimes don't really know what's involved in creating a book or a course and leading them step by step through the process. It's not always easy because these people have great ideas and are used to having control of the situation. In this case, sometimes they don't. And what I tell everyone is that don't expect it to be a straight uphill climb. It's going to be bumps and pitfalls, and it's a rocky road in the beginning, but it smooths out, and at the end, you'll get what you want.
What role do emotional intelligence and mindfulness play in your leadership and client relationships?
Oh, it's in everything I do. It's not only in my client relationships, it's with everything I think about and everything I act, my family, my friends, my dogs, everything. I believe that emotional intelligence and mindfulness is a way of helping everybody get to where they want to be. It's getting to your better self. And that, in my case, that's helping people get their message out to help other people. So when I put it all together, when people ask me what I do, is I say I help people who help people.
Awesome. And tell me about artificial intelligence and where you see things going in the future.
I wish I knew. Every day I wake up and I log onto my computer and something new is there. And I see all these predictions about all of these marvelous things and all of these dangers that we're facing. And I don't think anybody really has any clue about what's going to happen. I really don't. I think we just need to have solid relationships to not weather, but to navigate through this challenging times.
Okay, so you think that business relationships and normal human-to-human relationships is the way that we kind of AI-proof going forward, our businesses and our lives in general?
I would hope so. I mean, if you look at what goes on social media, how much of it is AI, and in the publishing or in the content industry, there's a big divide. There's half the people think AI sucks and it's going to be the end of creativity, and the other half have adopted it and are using it. So it's a tricky road.
And among your network of kind of coaches and consultants and among your clients as well, what are some of the discussions that are happening that you have facilitated?
Well, you've been in some of them, Evan, so you know that we've had a series of roundtables on how the different aspects of how AI will affect content. We've done it with IP and AI. We've done it on how to write a book with AI. We've done it with voiceover and AI. We've done it 4 or 5 on marketing and AI. And everybody seems really interested in trying to get through this and make it work.
But what are some of the specific kind of divides and that you can see? Like you talked about, there's a kind of like the division, but can you give me some specific examples?
So there are book coaches and editors who think it's the devil itself, who think that it will ruin creativity and the end of civilization. And I'm serious about it. Some of these people think it's the end of civilization, that our children won't be able to think for themselves. They won't be able to do anything. I don't know what to say to that, so I don't engage. And then there are other people who think it's the greatest thing that happened. I personally think it's going to change everything we do and how we act with everything. But, there's no way to go back and not have it. So you have to learn to adapt. And I try to explain that even if you don't think you're going to interact with it, you're going to interact with it. It's going to interact with you every day, all the time. So not knowing about it is just putting your head in the sand.
Okay.
That's a battle that happens in some of these instances.
Okay. And what about digital content creators and your business? How are you going to kind of like navigate this and adapt along with the developments in AI?
Well, we've changed a lot already in the last couple of years. We've developed this human to AI system. We created a publishing company for influencers because what we found is that most of them are on LinkedIn and their feed lasts 30 seconds and then they're gone. Try to go and find somebody's post 3 months ago. It's almost impossible. So these influencers need to take back their content and own it. So we've created a system and an ecosystem where they can create a book with their posts, create roundtables, create a magazine just for them. And it's in the works. We have 4 or 5 beta tests going on. I've written my own book with AI. And we'll see how it goes. But we're trying to adapt as things change.
And who are you collaborating with in order to provide this new project for influencers?
So we've started a series of books called The Influencer is the Message. And basically it's a take from Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message, because back then television was the way to get information. Now platforms are ubiquitous. They're all over. And people listen to people and not platforms anymore. That's why it's switched from the medium to the person being the influencer. And it's all over. And I don't think it's a secret. But business influencers are lagging behind social influencers.
Can you just give me what is the difference between a business influencer and a social influencer, just so we understand that?
A business influencer has more altruistic goals. They want to help people. They have a cause. It may be sustainability. It may be leadership. It may be something like that. A social leadership, although they may have a cause, it's mostly a transactional situation. And they change. I mean, they're both on both sides of the fence. But you can see the people on LinkedIn are different than the people on TikTok, for instance, as far as influencers go.
Okay, so you would say that most of the influencers on LinkedIn fall into the category of business influencers, naturally.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on LinkedIn makes money. Maybe a Gary Vee makes money. As on LinkedIn, maybe he gets money on LinkedIn, but I don't know many people who get paid to be on LinkedIn, as people are on TikTok or Facebook or some of the other or YouTube, some of the other platforms.
So but just to be clear, because you're talking directly about the platform itself, the monetizing, and the platform itself rewarding you for your content.
Oh, the platform itself. There are certain people on LinkedIn who do get paid. I don't know how much, but I know that.
So LinkedIn doesn't have a program to directly compensate influencers in the way that YouTube has ad revenue that's passed to the influencer.
Think so. I'm not. I should say I'm not aware of it, Eddie. I know that it's a very difficult situation to make money on LinkedIn from LinkedIn. I know Gary Vee does it.
Because I know that there are a lot of people that make money on LinkedIn in the sense that they use it to drive leads and customers.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. No.
Yeah.
I'm talking about monetizing the platform.
Yeah, you're talking about you're able to monetize your audience and the platform rewards you directly. I know that. Yeah.
So Gary Vee may be one of the ones who does that.
Okay. And then I think I'm not too aware of it, but I think you're right. I think on TikTok they do pay a certain amount, but I'm not sure how it works.
As your number of followers increase, I think. But I know that Gary Vee must be making a lot of money because him and his son was sitting front row at the Knicks playoff game, and there were $25,000 a seat. I mean, my daughter is his son's teacher, by the way. That's how I knew he was there.
And who are you helping? Are you helping more business influencers or social influencers with your service?
Business influencers who have a cause and who want to keep their message to themselves. Who want to keep their message visible and upfront in front of people.
Okay. With LinkedIn, I know that you've been slightly critical of LinkedIn recently. What changes have you seen happening on the platform, and how can we adapt as content creators?
It's interesting that LinkedIn never gives out any information. So when their algorithms change, nobody knows it until it's actually all ready to change again. Last year, video was the hot way of attracting traction on LinkedIn. This year, for some reason, it's carousels. There are statistics that you can look at. Personally, I post what I know about and what I feel comfortable posting about. I don't understand how cat videos get thousands of likes and 200 reposts where people who have important messages get almost no views at all. It just makes no sense to me. So just as an example, one post I did got 35,000 views. You would think that would push the needle. The next view got 80 views, the next post I did. Then I was kicked off of LinkedIn for 10 days saying I disobeyed the rules, but when I tried to get to know what rules I disobeyed, because I'm not aware of any, they wouldn't tell me, and I couldn't get in touch. And all of a sudden, one day I was back on. So, yes, I'm critical of it. Yeah, and I wish there was another place that I could do my work. But everyone seems to be there.
Yeah, it's for B2B services is kind of the only game in town when it comes to social media. But Instagram as well.
But it's interesting to know this real statistics. My partner, Harry Westbrook, has done some extensive research on LinkedIn. And if we had more time, I would go into the detail. If I had it at my fingertips, I'd go into the detail about how many people and the percentage of people who actually post. It's out of the billion people, it's a very small percentage.
And you're saying that of that small percentage of people that post, would you class those as like influencers?
I know. And I don't think an influence can necessarily be judged by how many followers they have. I think it's more about how much engagement they get. I mean, the followers certainly, there's a correlation between engagement and followers, but not necessarily all the time. I have 16,000 or 17,000 followers. I get very little engagement. I know people with 5,000 or 6,000 who get hundreds of engagements every post. I haven't figured out why yet. I'm trying though.
Okay. And for your services and digital content creators, how can someone get in touch with you if they want to be able to work with you or collaborate?
Well, they can get in touch with me at my email. It's jan.z@digitalcc.us. You're going to put it up, I guess so.
It'll be on the description. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's about helping. It's about challenges. It's about overcoming challenges. So if any of you out there who need some help with their content, give me a call. Tag me on LinkedIn, drop me a text, email, any way you want to get in touch with me.